All the talk in F1 about new teams has been pointed towards entering Cadillac as the 11th team, or the entrance of Audi in 2026, or even the return of Ford and Honda as engine manufacturers. But there's one storyline I think people are majorly overlooking, and that's Toyota. Toyota re entered Formula One back in 2024 as a technical partner of Haas. Not an engine manufacturer, not a rebrand, simply a partnership in the chassis and aerodynamics department. But through the experience they're gaining and the data they're collecting, I have the suspicion that Toyota is in the early stages of making a full time F1 return. Before we talk about Toyota's re entry into the sport, let's go over what happened the first time around and how it was one of the biggest failures in F1 history. Toyota initially tried entering F1 in 2001, but delayed their entry into 2002, costing them $11 million in a deposit they lost. But they looked to be promising as they had a large racing background, a huge budget, and they were the largest car manufacturer in the world. But after all, money can't buy performance. In their inaugural season in the sport, they spent an estimated $400 million. In comparison, that season, the champions Ferrari, as well as Renault, were the next highest spenders at $250 million. Keep in mind, this was before the era of the cost cap, and to prove money can't buy happiness, it only equated to 2 points and 10th in the standings for Toyota. Things did slowly get better as they made their way up the standings and were scoring podiums by 2005, but it wasn't too impressive when you realized they were spending increasingly more than the rest of the field season by season. They called it quits in 2009 after scoring a solid 17 podiums throughout their tenure, but in the end, over 8 years in the sport, they spent over $3 billion. After inflation, that's almost enough to buy the current Haas team. 4 times. When all things are said and done, 7 podiums is alright, but with the money spent, it's hard to commend the team that's most memorable moment is their driver gifting Lewis Hamilton a championship in 2008. So, with how poor they were the first time around, it makes sense that Toyota wants to re enter Formula One again, but with a much more conservative approach. They're still a huge name in the world of motorsport, with a team in the World Endurance Championship, and their huge customer base in the European motorsport space. They also have a huge amount of young talent in their academy run through Japanese Super Formula, including names like current F2 driver Ritomo Miyata. With all the tools they have, it makes sense that they would want to re-enter into the sport, and they really started in 2023 with McLaren. They appointed one of their WEC drivers, Ryo Hirakawa, into a reserve driver role alongside Pato O'Ward. Hirakawa also made a debut for Haas at the postseason testing in 2024 and signed as a reserve for Alpine for 2025 before switching back to Haas. That's 3 F1 opportunities in 2 years, all made possible by Toyota. Having their Japanese driver in F1 roles was a big step in the right direction for them, but their partnership with Haas was much more meaningful, and what I believe is the key to them trying to mount a return. Toyota and Haas have inked that technical partnership in October of 2024, where they would compete together. Haas would continue to use Ferrari engines and parts, and continue to get chassis help from Dallara, but Toyota would just be added as a complementary piece. You see, Haas and Toyota work perfectly together because Haas is an established midfield team in F1, but they struggle to push past that because they have a lack of finances and a lack of resource facilities like other teams. Toyota has plenty of money and racing facilities, but weren't able to succeed in F1 due to their lack of experience. You see what I'm getting at? Toyota is able to solve all the major problems that Haas had. For example, Haas never had a simulator of their own and were permitted to use the Ferrari one in Maranello. But it became hard to use throughout the season because Haas headquarters was located in the UK. The savior of Toyota has the funds to build a simulator in Haas's base in Banbury, helping them get more data and improve more as a team. Not only does Toyota provide the sim itself, but they're able to help Haas use it efficiently as they already have the hardware to build it and the expertise and people to run it smoothly. It'll still take time and a good amount of resources, but it'll be far quicker and more efficient for Haas than it ever would have been if they attempted it on their own. Haas also has the ability to run tests with previous cars, also known as TPC, which they haven't been able to do in the past. This is the sort of stuff when you see teams running private tests with a car of theirs that's a couple years old to both collect data and try out new talent. Toyota gets a lot of this TPC running as they have their own back drivers running F1 machinery. We've seen this recently with current Super Formula points leader and Toyota back driver Sho Tsuboi getting a test drive in the Haas car earlier this month. The TPC testing also gives a chance for Haas and Toyota to combine engineers and mechanics and get them ready for F1, as Haas has always had the issue of being understaffed. It's a long term path in getting engineers to eventually graduate to F1, but from Toyota's perspective, they're also readying their personnel to be prepared for that F1 level if they ever were to make the jump. As much as this deal is helping Haas, and it seemingly helps Toyota as well, all the tools that Toyota is bettering are going to help them make a return in F1. I will say they have explicitly stated that they're not planning to re enter Formula One at the moment, and they aren't even looking to become an engine supplier. But based on what they're developing, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw something change in the coming years. They already have a driver academy where they can get talent to join an F1 team and secure its future, and their personnel and staff are getting acclimated to the F1 level without the huge investment of owning a team quite yet. They also gain access to past Formula One machinery and all the data that comes with that, making a multi year planning phase a lot easier in terms of car development. With all the moving factors, it seems too good to be true that they aren't at least eyeing a return. All the pieces are in the right place, and the world's largest auto manufacturer wants to make their proper mark at the top of the motorsport world. That being said, I only see two really true possibilities on how Toyota could be a full on team again. The first of those would be slowly acquiring Haas. Despite rumors of Haas being bought out during the COVID times, Gene Haas has stayed insistent that he didn't want to sell the team. But with the landscape of F1 changing, who knows, he might want an exit. Or he could opt for a partnership to occur. Similar to how Audi has been slowly buying more and more equity in Sauber per year, Toyota could do something similar with Haas. This would not only mean that Toyota gets a team in F1, but they inherit the facilities and employees that Haas have. Looking at the current path they're taking in the technical partnership, it could even be similar to how Alfa Romeo was a large title sponsor of Sauber a couple of years ago. That's the most likely scenario in my head, seeing that Haas most likely still wants to be in F1, but it would elevate their chances of doing better without having to sell the team entirely. The other option, although less likely, could be a 12th F1 team. Otmar Safnauer has let it be known that a car manufacturer has been in partnership with him to bring a 12th F1 team to the grid, and that opens the door for Toyota. It's highly unlikely that the company in cahoots with Otmar is Toyota because of their deal with Haas, but it shows that a 12th F1 team on the F1 grid is a real possibility. All the teams on the grid are in a very stable position right now, and I doubt any would want to sell their team outright, unless Racing Bulls. So adding to the grid is the only option, but considering the approval process it took Cadillac, it might not be that easy for Toyota. Regardless, there are too many things going on with this Toyota Haas deal that seem too good to be true. All the data collection and preparing for F1, is this just a friendly alliance, or could it be the beginning of Toyota's resurgence in F1?